So we're going to take a few minutes in this video and talk about the Cisco Discovery Protocol. Cisco Discovery Protocol is a really neat thing if you've never had to deal with anything like it. The Cisco Discovery Protocol is a Layer 2 protocol that exchanges information about switches with one another. So you can go into one switch and tell it, show me every Cisco switch that's connected to you and what port they're connected on, and you can get all kinds of interesting information about the various switches that's connected. If you were to ever implement a voice over IP network, you would pretty much have to have CDP enabled on your switches that have your phones connected to them in order for your voice VLANs and data VLANs to be sent over to your Cisco phones. You could manually set all this up on both ends, but CDP just makes things a lot easier. CDP can also be kind of a security risk because anyone can plug any Cisco device into your network and start getting information about the directly connected switches. So it's kind of a give and take. I've never seen a situation where it's been turned off except in very strange configurations like I actually have in my lab for breaking out VLANs through a switch, and I don't want the switches that are connected to this one to know that they're connected to a Cisco switch. I want them to think that they're connected directly to my virtual router. And if you were to get real in depth with GNS3, you'd understand how to do that, or you'd learn how to do that. At any rate, let's look at CDP. So I have it enabled on all of my switches here. I have three switches, a 2900, a 2960, and a 2950. And you'll notice that CDP is being very nice and telling us on this breakout switch, hey, I've got a duplex mismatch on Fast Ethernet 02 with the other end, which is set to half duplex. I also have a native VLAN mismatch. So CDP already is telling us that there are some configuration issues inside our network. If you were to go over to the 2960, you'd see the exact same thing, only in reverse. You're saying, hey, the other end is full duplex, and I'm not. So let's make our lives a little easier, and let's go ahead and change this duplex setting on this end. So we'll do config T, interface fast Ethernet 0/48, and we'll do duplex full. Of course, that brings the interface down and up. And then all we have left are the native VLAN mismatches. So let's go in and change that native VLAN. So do config T on this switch, and then interface fast Ethernet 0/2, do switch port access VLAN 1. So that gets rid of those messages for us, and now we can carry on with our video here. So if we were to go onto the switch in privileged exec mode and do show CDP neighbors, we see a small table that tells us what the name of the device that's connected is, in this case 2960 lab.test.local. Tells us what interface it's connected to locally, in this case it's connected to Fast Ethernet 01 on this router. Tells us how long it's been since we've seen that device, and if we hit up arrow we see that that number counts down. And that hold time is how long this entry is held in the database. So if I were to go turn off this 2960, this device would stay in the CDP table for another 172 seconds before it would finally be purged from the table. And of course, you can manually clear the CDP table using the clear CDP star command. That tells us the capabilities of the router. In this case, it is capable of being a switch and an IGMP routing protocol host. And it tells us what the platform is. That's the most important. It tells us that we're connected to a 2960 or a 2950. It also tells us what port on the other end we're connected to, Fast Ethernet 48 on both switches. Now, of course, you can get more information out of CDP than just this. For example, if we were to go in here and do show CDP and hit question mark, we have a few entries we can look at. We can look at the information for a specific entry. We can check the hold time. We can look at various interfaces. The most common command that I use is show CDP neighbor, and we can look at like Fast Ethernet 0/1, and that narrows it down to just a single port. So you can see how many Cisco devices are connected on a specific port. And again, normally there'll only be one because it's a layer 2 protocol. It doesn't go through the switch. It terminates at the switch. But you can do detail, for example, and you get the device ID, the IP address of the switch or the router, that's the management address. If there's more than one, you'll have multiple entries. It tells you not only that, but the version of the iOS that's installed. In this case, it's 12250 SE2 release FC2. You've also got some technical information about the advertisement. It tells you the native VLAN, whether it's a full duplex connection. And of course, any IP addresses that are configured for management access, because you can go into certain VLANs and say, I'm not going to accept management requests on those VLANs. So as you can see, CDP can really help you. For the CCENT, that's really all you need to know, and in fact, there's not much more to CDP other than what you've seen here. But for the time being, that concludes our discussion of the Cisco Discovery Protocol.